So remember, Dwayne Davis, I believe his name, has been arrested for the death of, or the murder actually of Tupac. And essentially, people are wondering, how did this happen? Obviously, we went through a lot of things about how we even got to this point. We detail his self-snitching. We pretty much know all the details. Obviously there's still a couple theories floating out there like, hey, did other people, were they involved? Did they put money on people? Whatever, right? However, Keefe D, which is, I think it's Dwayne Davis, right? Keefe D was indicted through a grand jury, which means a grand jury, which I've now known, they met 5 times and the cops presented evidence that basically tied Keefe D to this murder. Okay? Now, typically in the United States, grand jury proceedings, whether federally or on the state side, it's usually secret. However, this is a huge situation. So sometimes you'll hear certain leaks. And by the way, I think some of these outlets got transcripts of this grand jury hearing. Now, this is why this is important. In a grand jury hearing, the police represented by a district attorney has to convince 12 citizens that are, well, actually it's more than 12. It's usually sometimes 23. My bad for that. A regular jury is usually like 12, right? The grand jury is usually like 23 or something like that. But it doesn't require unanimous. I think it requires like half for an indictment. I think half of the people got to vote indict, and then they'll have a true bill. Anyway, so a grand jury is okay. They think you did some shit, and to get the official charges rather than go through like a preliminary hearing, they have the secret type of proceeding where they present evidence, and the grand jury, their job isn't to find you guilty. Their job is to find if there is probable cause for you to be charged. Okay? Now, I don't want to get into too much, I keep telling you, I'm like the ghetto lawyer. I don't want to get into too much lawyer shit. But like grand jury indictments, usually they could indict anybody they want. You know what I mean? There's a saying, you could indict a ham sandwich. Anyway, we now know what happened in the grand jury for Dwayne Davis, Keefe D, with Tupac. Now, again, and this is the part I didn't say yet, the important part of this is that if the police or the cops or the DA are trying to get charges on this guy, they're going to play their hand heavy to, this is the evidence we got on this nigga. So if you ever wanted to know whatever evidence that they pretty much have up until this point, from 27 years ago till now, they probably would have presented this as probable cause, okay, in this indictment proceeding, which with the grand jury takes place in. Anyway, there's some news reports that came out of that. Let me see. Here we go. I think, is it this? Okay, here we go. So this is about the grand jury of it. Here we go.
The intersection behind me is where Tupac was killed back in September of 1996. He would die 6 days later from his injuries. And we have learned the grand jury met at least 5 times as prosecutors presented their evidence against Dwayne Davis. Transcripts the 8 News Now investigators obtained paint a picture.
I'm going to get this transcript. I don't have it at this moment, but I'm going to get this transcript. It's going to be very important, honestly.
Picture of what witnesses testified in secret grand jury hearings.
So a grand jury, some people hate it, some people like it. The grand jury is a secret court proceeding that doesn't involve the defendant. And usually the defendant doesn't know about it, right? Until the results are known. Also, all the things that happen in this grand jury setting is not privy to the person who is the subject of said investigation. So this is kind of rare that we're even getting any of this.
Before the panel voted to indict Dwayne Keefe D. Davis in the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Ultimately, our persistence in this investigation has paid off.
It's an investigation that began with this video from 1996, a fight involving Shakur, record exec Suge Knight, and members of a rival gang. Hours later, Davis, the kingpin of that other group, allegedly ordered the retaliatory shooting. A Southside Crips gang affiliate testifying, Keefe is the one who's going to make all the arrangements and all the plans until that gun goes into somebody else's hand. Davis was sitting in the front.
By the way, sorry for that. I'm playing from YouTube, but there's actually Instagram. There's actually a YouTube clip. News Now. Give me a second. Tupac. Yeah. Okay. Which one is it? No. Fuck. It's grand jury. Sorry. Is it? Yo, am I? By the way, I'm looking at shit on two different computers. That's why I'm trying to pull up this video that's on this computer. Don't think I'm stupid. I'm not stupid. I am kind of, but not really. Oh, I gotta go here. Oh, it's not a YouTube video. I'm sorry. 8 News Now. I thought it was a YouTube video. I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay, so I guess this video is native to their site. Here we go, though.
I know a lot of people have been watching and waiting for this day. Today, justice will be served.
Our other big local story tonight making national headlines. Police making an arrest 27 years after the murder of hip-hop icon Tupac Shakur right here in Las Vegas. A grand jury indicting Dwayne Keefe D. Davis for Shakur's murder. 8 News Now investigator David Charnes first broke the news of the raid at Davis's home. Now he's learning what was said behind closed doors, including who a witness says pulled the trigger.
The intersection behind me is where Tupac was killed back in September of 1996. He would die 6 days later from his injuries. And we have learned the grand jury met at least 5 times as prosecutors presented their evidence against Dwayne Davis. Transcripts the 8 News Now investigators obtained paint a picture of what witnesses testified in secret grand jury hearings before the panel voted to indict Dwayne Keefe D. Davis in the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Ultimately, our persistence in this investigation has paid off.
It's an investigation that began with this video from 1996, a fight involving Shakur, record exec Suge Knight, and members of a rival gang. Hours later, Davis, the kingpin of that other group, allegedly ordered the retaliatory shooting. A Southside Crips gang affiliate testifying, Keefe is the one who's going to make all the arrangements and all the plans until that gun goes into somebody else's hand. Davis was sitting in the front passenger seat of another car when it pulled up side by side to Shakur's. In his book, Davis says he handed a gun to a passenger in the back seat who then fired. Metro Police showing this diagram Friday with Orlando Anderson, Davis's nephew, and DeAndre Smith in the back seat. Both are deceased. The gang member saying when he passed the firearm to Orlando didn't have a clear shot. Big Dre is 6'6". At this time, he's 370, 400. He's big. You're not going to reach over like that because shells would have been popping all in Big Dre's face and all kind of stuff. When asked if Smith was the shooter, the gang affiliate told the grand jury he did the shooting.
Dwayne Davis was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime, and he orchestrated the plan that was carried out.
A member of Shakur's security team saying he saw a, quote, larger size arm fire the shots. That man also telling the grand jury in the moments after the shooting, he approached a wounded Shakur who told him, quote, get on the ground. They're going to shoot you. Shakur wasn't talking about Davis's group, but responding police officers who thought the shooter was among the rapper's entourage. Also shown to the grand jury videos and other exhibits like photos that have never been seen by the public before. We expect to get our hands on that next week. Near Flamingo and Koval, I'm David Charnes, 8 News Now.
Okay, so essentially the police have to finally start presenting what they got to show their hand. They've been investigating for 27 years. They have probably information, videos, pictures. Sorry. They have certain things that no one has ever been previewed. What the fuck is this? Hold on.
For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice.
What the fuck is this?
We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keefe Davis, a.k.a. Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
A historic day in Las Vegas history.
I'm trying to see if there's any new video that I might be missing. I don't think so, though. It says 6 minutes left.
27 years after his death, Las Vegas Metro Police make an arrest in the September 1996 murder of rap icon Tupac Shakur. Our 8 News Now investigators, the first TV crew in court as the indictment was read. Thank you for joining us on your Friday at 5. I'm Brian Loftus.
And I'm Ozzie Mora. We have team coverage tonight. Investigators David Charles and Kyle Payne both standing by.
But first, Vanessa Murphy outside the Clark County Detention Center where Davis being held without bail. Vanessa.
Well, here it is, an indictment for the murder of Tupac Shakur 27 years later. Police and prosecutors say it's the words of Dwayne Keefe D. Davis himself which helped bring this case to a close.
Tupac Shakur is a...
Yo, how does that sound? It's the words of the nigga who snitched on himself that finally made us solve the case. Like, come the fuck on.
music legend. And for a long time, this community and worldwide have been wanting justice for Tupac. Today, we are taking that first step.
Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson referring to this indictment against Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. A grand jury in Las Vegas indicting the now 60-year-old man for murder with use of a deadly weapon, the charge carrying a gang enhancement, although he's not believed to be the trigger man.
Vanessa Murphy, Channel 8. Steve, can you talk about the murder charge if he is not the one believed to have pulled the trigger?
Yes, well, under Nevada law, and this is the law in most states in this country, you can be charged with a crime whether you're directly involved or whether you're an aider and abettor.
They've indicted Dwayne Keefe Davis.
The 8 News Now investigators were there as the indictment was announced in court Friday morning. Chief Deputy District Attorney Mark DiGiacomo says starting in 2018, Davis wrote a book and gave interviews, saying as the head of the Southside Compton Crips, he obtained the gun and as the shot caller ordered the killing.
Since 2019, he's appeared at least 8 separate times in promotion of this book and repeated various versions of these events, all of which...
Hey, chat, let me add a little 2 cents to this. By the way, half of these interviews they told about is Vlad interviews. And I'm not saying Vlad did nothing wrong. But let me tell you this, chat. Remember when I think I was commenting about the raid of his house, right? Like, and people were, talking like, is he going to get arrested? I did I did a video. Well, we were on stream. We talked about it. I think I said this last stream too. Keefe D reached out. At least this is what was told to me. But I don't know. These days, I'm a little hot and cold on Wack's reputation because I used to say Wack never lies until I seen like 4 lies he told like in the last week. I was like, what the fuck? But I don't know if those lies are trolling. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, Wack reached out to me and Wack was just like, yo, Keefe D want to tap in with you. Remember, because I was clowning nigga for like self-snitching. And he was like, yo, Keefe D want to tap in with you. You want to be able to you want to come on your stream. And the whole time I'm thinking, and by the way, I'm thinking this is true. The whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, dog, if the police just did a search warrant at your crib, the next best thing they want you to do is to go talk online about the search warrant and the murder some more. So like, I was like, Wack, I'm gonna see. I never really hit Wack up back to really set that shit up. A month or 2 later, that nigga's locked up. That's why I called Wack that day. I was like, Wack, you know why I didn't call you back to set up that interview or like get Keefe D on my stream? I knew the cops was gonna use some shit like that. Nigga, the cops was on him. Rock was like, yeah, that nigga knew. Anyway.
He acknowledges that he is, in fact, the person that ordered the death of Mr. Shakur and the attempted murder of Mr. Knight.
Wolfson says his office has been in contact with Shakur's family. They are pleased with the news.
Tupac was actually quoted as saying, "Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside while still alive. Never surrender." Well, we didn't surrender.
Now Davis is held in jail here without bail. He's expected to appear in court on Wednesday. There will likely be a discussion about bail, and the judge will consider two factors. Is he a danger to the community, and is he a flight risk? For now, I'll send it to David Charnes, who's live from the scene where it all unfolded.
Chat, they might as well let the nigga back out. All he gonna do is more interviews and give more evidence.
Yeah, Vanessa, it was just behind me in the intersection here behind me on Flamingo where Tupac was shot 27 years ago, almost to the week. It was in the beginning of September 1996. Since then, Duane Davis has made several public statements about his involvement in that shooting, and it's those statements that have led to this arrest now 27 years later.
This photo from Las Vegas Metro Police shows 60-year-old Duane Keefe D. Davis in custody in the death of Tupac Shakur.
That nigga look like he just saw Vlad TV, nigga. That nigga don't know what's going on. That nigga look bewildered. That nigga look like he just seen DJ Vlad. Like, he's like, what the fuck? You know what's so funny? Vlad interviewing these niggas, Vlad not even in the same room with them. Yo, Vlad talking to these niggas on FaceTime, nigga. By the way, salute to Vlad. Why the fuck would I even go to a room with a nigga like you, bro? Actually, I think Vlad said he did interview him in person one time. He said that. Yeah, he did. Vlad say, bro, like 5 police officers. You know what I mean? Yo, here's the thing. Vlad did say he felt like he solved the murder of like Tupac and like knowing what really happened. I don't think he was talking about legally though. And I know a lot of y'all say Vlad's the police, but it's like, I think Vlad was under the assumption that because the shooter was dead, and I think most people, even this guy was under the assumption that because the shooter was dead, and obviously, you know, a lot of people from the victim's family was dead as well, that this was water under the bridge. It was always going to go down with a bunch of theories of what happened, and maybe we would have a popular theory of what really did happen. I don't think Vlad ever thought there would be an arrest. Nor do I, and by the way, I'm not saying Vlad was like setting this up for the peoples, but also I think this guy didn't think that there's going to be any arrest either.
Ultimately, our persistence in this investigation has paid off.
It's an investigation that began with this video, a fight involving Shakur, record exec Suge Knight, and members of a rival gang. Hours later, Davis, the kingpin of that other group, allegedly ordered the shooting.
Specifically, Duane Davis's own admissions.
All right, okay. All right, still with that being said, apparently he has a pretty decent chance of beating this whole thing, so don't get your hopes up too much. He probably will end up beating this entire thing just off the fact that there's so many people that died before. If people are saying that he's a cooperator or he has cooperated, you know, he probably has no problem with throwing the deceased under the ground. Shit, yeah, he was in the car. I'm pretty sure, well, which... I guess that might be the case. Was he in the car or not? If you're lying about being in the car, that's one thing. If you were in the car, no matter if you were the shooter or the driver, you're still kind of liable for murder. I don't know what defense he could come up with, even if he's gonna throw his nephew who died, Orlando Anderson, or the other two guys under the bus. I don't know if that's even a possibility where he could do something to not go to prison at all. So we'll see.